So in 1948, R.C. Majumdar submitted a proposal to the Indian government to write an official history of the freedom struggle. In 1952, the Ministry of Education appointed a board of directors for the compilation of the history. Professor Majumdar was appointed by the board as the director and entrusted with the work of sifting and collecting materials and preparing the draft of this history. However, because the board was not just comprised of scholars, it also comprised of politicians that were obviously loyal to the Congress party and the Prime Minister Nehru government. Perhaps this was the reason that this board was then dissolved at the end of 1955, because it became quite clear that Prime Minister Nehru and his coterie wanted to present a distorted and glorified version of India's freedom struggle, which ignored or minimized the contributions of many patriots and leaders who did not belong to their ideology or their political party. Accuracy of historical record was less important than making certain politicians look good. They also wanted to suppress the fact that India had lost her independence much earlier than the British invasion and the 18th century, and had suffered centuries of foreign invasion and centuries of oppression to go along with it. R.C. Majumdar, on the other hand, was much more concerned with presenting a correct version of history, an unbiased version of history, as opposed to the Nehruvian version of history. On the question of the Hindu-Muslim relationship in pre-British India, R.C. Majumdar was quite clear. He refutes the commonly held view that Hindus and Muslims lived in harmony before the advent of the British, and that the Hindu-Muslim tension was the outcome of the British policy of divide and rule, which is, this is a theory that is again often floated in social media and in the media circles in the last few decades as well. However, I told you that the board that Professor Majumdar was made the head of was dissolved. It was only the governmental board that was dissolved. The project to actually write the official version of India's freedom struggle, that project was still alive. It remained in balance for about a year, after which the government entrusted it to a single scholar. Imagine that, one scholar to write the entire history of India's freedom struggle. This scholar was named Tara Chand, who was a Congress-friendly ex-bureaucrat in the Education Ministry, who was India's ambassador to Tehran from 1951 to 56. It was during the tenure of the ultra-loyal dynasty sycophant, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad, and his tenure as the Education Minister of India, that Tara Chand's sanitized version of India's freedom struggle was finally published. For people that might not remember, this is the same Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad who later signed Indira Gandhi's emergency proclamation as the President of India as well. So quite a legacy there. And by the way, this is still the official version of the Indian freedom struggle. This is the only one that exists. And another famous historian, Dr. N.S. Rajaram, wrote about this entire fiasco. He said, what was R.C. Majumdar's crime? His only crime was that he refused to bend history to suit the interests of the Congress party. Despite all these difficulties, though, such was the brilliance and such was the tenacity of R.C. Majumdar that he persevered and he completed his monumental work, which is called The History of the Freedom Movement in India, in 3 volumes, published between 1962 and 1970. He exposed the flaws and the biases of the official history and presented a balanced and comprehensive account of India's struggle for independence. He also highlighted the role of many forgotten heroes and movements that had shaped India's destiny. So if you're looking for some reading over the weekend, I would highly recommend this volume. However, his work was largely ignored and suppressed by the establishment. It did not receive any recognition or appreciation from the government or the academia. It has not been included in the curriculum or textbooks of schools or of colleges. It was not widely circulated or reviewed by the media either. It was almost as if R.C. Majumdar did not exist. It was almost as if the media and the government establishment was trying to scrub any existence of R.C. Majumdar or his incredible work from the historical and public record.